Hello, my name is Courtney Frost. Today I'm going to be discussing visual principles in educational video design. So on today's agenda we have why use visuals, how to use visuals, and where to find or create visuals. So let's start with why use visuals. Visuals have powerful influences on the brain. The effect of direct instruction diminishes over time, thus we need to incorporate visual support to solidify learning. Here's a graphic that shows 9 reasons to use visuals. Visuals are permanent and spoken words disappear. Visuals allow time for language processing. They prepare students for transitions. They help kids see what you mean. Visuals help all students. They help build independence. They are transferable between environments and people. Visuals have no attitude, no tone, no frustration, no disapproval, and visuals help reduce anxiety. Here are 6 reasons visuals are impactful. So for one, they help store information longer. They make communication quicker and simpler. They aid better comprehension. They act as stimulators for emotions. They drive motivation. And although so far all of these have been positive impacts, they can also have a negative impact because unsuitable visuals equals unhappy learners. So whether good or bad, visuals can be impactful. Studies have actually shown that learners respond to visual information faster as compared to text-only material. Also, visuals help improve learning tremendously on multiple levels. And 65% of the population comprises visual learners. So a majority of people are visual learners. Using visuals in your ESL lessons, because visuals help all learners, especially our ESL students who might struggle with just listening and understanding what we have to say in a lesson. Visuals support comprehension. Teachers, you can find images or video clips online that align with the lesson's focus words, and again, that would especially help your ESL students who might not know what all the words are meaning. And visuals are essential for successful learning across all topics and all content areas. So now that we know that it is important to use visuals and that we need to use them in education, how do we need to use them? So when using visuals, there are several things we need to consider, and one of those things is graphic design. Our brains are tuned to the content of visual information, and actually over a third of our brain is dedicated to analyzing images. But despite that, the quality of our images that we use still matters. That means that different images will have different impacts, and using things such as scale, color, and hierarchy will play a role in how much of our attention an image will receive. So these design elements play a role in where we focus our attention. So it's important to consider these things when we're creating a visual or we're creating a video or picking something to use. So we have scale, which is basically size, and it shows importance to objects by bringing our attention to them. So something that is important we need to make larger because it will gain the attention of our viewers more. Color also helps with attention. Warm colors are more active and energetic, so they are going to demand more attention, whereas cool colors are more subdued or relaxing, and so they aren't going to pop out as much or require as much attention. And then hierarchy is another way to create a significance among our visual elements. So with hierarchy, the more important items need to be placed higher up. Another thing to consider when we are talking about using visuals in education is the cognitive theory of multimedia learning. So that is based on humans having a limited capacity to process new information, and that learning involves organizing information into long-term memory. So with that, something we need to avoid is cognitive overload, and we can avoid that by limiting extraneous processing, which would come from poor instructional design. So we want to have an effective instructional design to eliminate cognitive overload. And this will affect the learning experience. These principles of design have been shown to decrease extraneous cognitive load and therefore contribute to a more efficient learning experience. And this is specifically for low proficiency learners. So that was very important to me, that it's going to help all students, but especially our students who usually wouldn't do as well. And then video quality. So poorly constructed materials that don't take into consideration the cognitive load are going to lead to inferior learning. So high quality videos leads to high quality learning, whereas low quality video will lead to low quality learning. Here are the key principles of multimedia learning. So we're going to look at each of these principles. Several of them are very similar. So multimedia principle is combining images and words is more effective for learning than just using words alone, which is what we've kind of been talking about so far. The modality principle, when speaking in a video or presentation, we need to limit the amount of text on the screen and instead use relevant images to reinforce spoken words. And again, this is going to help with making sure we don't get cognitive overload by limiting that. The redundancy principle is similar. It says we should avoid combining narration, graphics, and text simultaneously because if we use them all together, we're going to end up with cognitive overload where we have too much going on. And again, coherence principle, also very similar to that. We need to remove unnecessary or distracting content, or you could say fluff, from the instructional materials. So less is more. And then we have the signaling principle, which is where we can guide the learner's attention to key points that we really want them to pay attention to by using visual cues like highlighting words, zooming in, having arrows pointing at information that we really want to emphasize. We also have contiguity. So with that, we have spatial, where you place related images and text close together on the screen. That way you can show their relationship. And then we also have temporal contiguity, which is where you synchronize audio narration with the corresponding visuals to maintain coherence. And then we have some contiguity principles. So with that, we have the segmenting principle, which is presenting information in segments or chunks instead of just continuously giving information. And this allows learners to have control over the pace of their learning, but it also helps with improving their comprehension and retention of the material, which is very important. We also have the image principle, which is using relevant visuals rather than just the educator talking to convey important information more effectively. We have the voice principle. So you should use a human voice rather than a computer-generated one for narration. Although a lot of people don't like the way they sound, it can be more convenient to use the AI-generated voice for narration. But your human voice is just more authentic, more relatable, and students are going to respond better to that. And then we have the personalization principle. So communicate in simple, casual style to make learners feel more comfortable. We need to avoid overly complicated language and jargon. So we need to speak in our videos the way we would in a normal conversation. That way students can comprehend what we're saying better. So when we are using visuals or videos in our educational purposes, we need to consider fair use, whether we are creating videos ourselves or creating graphics ourselves, or we're using something that we've already found online. If we are creating our own, we need to make sure that we're using resources with the Creative Commons to create it, if we're bringing in graphics or anything else in what we are creating. And then if we're finding something online to use, we need to make sure that we're giving credit to the creator, and we need to make sure that we're not using it in a way that would hurt the creator in any way. We're not taking away from them making a profit or anything like that. Technology is an effective tool that can make education more meaningful and engaging for teachers and students alike. The key is just that we use it the correct way and that we consider all of these different principles when using technology in our educational purposes. So here are some resources that you can use if you want to find videos that you can incorporate, or you could even use some of these to make your own. And then lastly, I have my sources that I used to create this. And you could feel free to look at any of these for some additional information as well. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope that I was able to help you to better understand using visuals in education. Thank you.